While doing research for our trip to Vermillion Cliffs National Monument in Arizona, 𝐷𝐿𝐼 came up as an alternative to the famous 𝐷𝐿𝐼. Not only does 𝐷𝐿𝐼 not require a permit to visit, but it also holds its own in regards to beautiful landscapes and surreal terrains. The biggest challenge that you're going to face if you want to visit this amazing place is the roads that you need to take to get there. You will be starting off with a 20-mile drive down a bumpy dirt road until you reach this corral. You're going to go left here and you should see signs saying that four-wheel drive is necessary. Please pay attention to these signs because you have several miles of driving in soft sand before you get to 𝐷𝐿𝐼. In addition to a high-clearance four-wheel drive vehicle, you also need to bring the right gear for this adventure. We highly recommend bringing a shovel, sand tracks, and an air compressor just in case you get stuck. You are also going to want to start off with a full tank of gas because you are pretty much out in the middle of nowhere. After about 6.2 miles, you will pass a farmhouse and the main road will appear to curve off to the left. You will see road markers for BLM Road 1087 and also a couple of signs for 𝐷𝐿𝐼. This is when things are going to start to get really sandy. Things can get pretty tricky here because the road is only wide enough for one car. You're going to want to keep your momentum up here because of the sand, but you don't want to fly through this section either because there are a lot of blind corners and we did meet up with a couple of cars going the other way. There are also a couple of spots where the sand turned back into bumpy hardpack, and if you came flying through here, you'd probably go airborne. We must have visited when we had pretty much ideal conditions because I was able to keep the Jeep in 4 high and I didn't even need to air down my tires. You are definitely going to want to check the weather before you visit. Not only is House Rock Valley Road slippery and pretty much impassable in the rain, but the sand in this section can actually turn into waist-deep quicksand. Eventually you'll find yourself at a gate. Be sure to leave it as you found it. Luckily these dirt bikers were there and they held it open for us. Eventually you will come to a fork and you will now be on BLM 1086. You're going to stay on this for about 5.6 miles until the road dead ends at the 𝐷𝐿𝐼 parking lot. We were definitely relieved when we saw the rock formation starting to come into view because we had heard of some of the struggles that people had to go through to get here. It appeared that the adventure gods were going to smile on us this day because we made it there with pretty much no problem. You are allowed to camp here and we would definitely love to at some point, but just know that this is roughing it. There are no toilets, trash collection, or water sources here, so you pack it in and please be sure to pack it back out. I think that it goes without saying, but even if you're just visiting for the day, please be sure to practice leave no trace principles. Once you hit the trailhead, you are a small 400-yard walk from a place that I can only describe as a photographer's paradise. As much fun as it is to photograph though, it is one of those places that are really hard to do proper justice to in pictures and video. The rock formations and textures and colors here are like something straight out of a sci-fi movie or from another planet. The vast majority of the rock here is gray and has a texture that for some reason reminded us of cauliflower. But mixed in with the gray rock are seemingly random veins of orange, yellow, and white. At the time of our visit, we weren't exactly sure what caused all of these unique formations and colors, so we had to go home and do some research. Many geologists believe that 𝐷𝐿𝐼 was caused by soft sediment deformation that occurred millions of years ago. This is a common phenomenon that develops during or right after sediments are deposited. As they are deposited, they are either liquid-like or unsolidified, and this allows the deformation to take place. It is also thought that an earthquake is partially responsible for 𝐷𝐿𝐼's creation. This earthquake triggered a large sand slide mass. The rapid loading from the sand mass created pressure adjustments within the underlying saturated sand. This all resulted in deformations and fluid-like formations, which you can see right here. Things have changed over time though, and geologists believe that the original slide plane may now be buried hundreds of feet below the surface. It's pretty hard to pick because the entire area is just breathtaking, but this is probably one of my favorite formations in 𝐷𝐿𝐼. The contrast between the orange and white stripes is so cool to look at, and for some reason this formation reminds me of a giant seashell. Be sure to leave yourself enough time to really explore the area. If you rushed it, you could probably be in and out in 3 to 4 hours, but I feel like if you really want to do it justice, you need to slow down and take it all in. This is a place that has beauty around every corner, and I found myself constantly reshooting the formations because as I moved around, the formations would change just enough to where I wanted a shot from that angle too. I feel like we did a pretty good job exploring the area when you consider the short amount of time that we were there. But I'm pretty sure that we did not see all that 𝐷𝐿𝐼 has to offer. It may be hard to believe that it would take that long to explore an area that only covers 1 square mile, but ideally we would like to spend 2 or 3 days here to really see everything, and I'm sure that you would get some epic star shots here as well. With the closest town being Page, Arizona, that's about 25 miles away, you should have nice dark skies and very little light pollution for astrophotography. This would make for almost ideal conditions if you want to get constellations or maybe even the Milky Way in the night sky over 𝐷𝐿𝐼. Even though there are no organized trails here, you can still get some distance in. Be sure to bring plenty of water because you can end up doing 2 to 3 miles if you explore all of the rock formations. You definitely do not want to be out here either during or immediately after a rain, but if you come out here a couple of days after a rain, you might be in for a treat. There are obviously a lot of indentions in the formations out here, and that can be useful for collecting water. If you visit either in the morning or the evening, you can use the still water to get awesome reflection shots of the rock formations. And that's not the only cool thing about the pools here. If you're lucky, you might even find them full of tadpoles or shrimp. At this point, the sun was getting closer and closer to the horizon, and we wanted to be through the sand section before it set. But along the way, we couldn't help but stop by this extremely fragile looking formation. I'm actually kind of glad that we didn't win the lottery for the wave this day, because if we did, we wouldn't have been able to come to 𝐷𝐿𝐼. And as much as I would love to see the wave at some point, not only does this spot rival it, but I think this one's in a league of its own. Since we visited, we did even more research on 𝐷𝐿𝐼, and we found out that there were actually some spots that we missed. In addition to more unique formations, we found out that there might even be petroglyphs out there, so we definitely need to go back. Once you get to the car, you're going to be driving out the same exact way that you came in. The route is fairly straightforward and there are only a couple of forks, but it might not hurt to bring a handheld GPS device with you just so you make sure you take the right route. And as if hanging out at 𝐷𝐿𝐼 wasn't cool enough, we ended up finishing off the day by making friends with some wild horses. And that is going to do it for our adventure to 𝐷𝐿𝐼. If you enjoy our adventures, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you get notified when we make new videos. Check us out on Instagram at @thatadventurelife_official. And for all the information about 𝐷𝐿𝐼 and other awesome things to do in the area, head on over to thatadventurelife.com.